Welcome back to the Matchbook Weekend Football Podcast. It feels like only yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, I talked to Adrian Clarke and Mark O'Haire about the midweek Premier League slates. And Adrian, funny couple of days again. Let's recap the best bets. Your one, Norwich beat Reading. Mark's under 3 on Liverpool Tottenham. We almost got away with that one. There was some really bad beats there. I mean, Chelsea under 2.5 and 5 minutes into stoppage time. We almost got away with that one. And a weird midweek fixture list as ever.
Yeah, no, it was tough, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. We hit the bar, hit the post a couple of times, and it was very, very frustrating. But yeah, look, I was pleased with the Norwich one. It's always nice when the best bet comes in. I don't think that was ever really in doubt at Reading once they got their noses in front. They're a pretty strong side this year, Norwich.
Mark, how's the midweek been for you, mate? Kind of sensing that you're kind of, not majorly happy with this midweek and then straight into Premier League action. It's tricky, mate, even for preparation. That's why we're obviously recording late on Thursday evening, just give you guys a bit of time, but it's just very tricky.
Yeah, I don't want to moan about it too much because it's football and we love football, but it's, I like to do my prep, I like to do my research, I like to do my post-match analysis, as well as trying to get my tissue prices ahead for the next games. And it's just so relentless at the moment. It's very, very difficult to be on top of everything all the time. And I've been all right myself in terms of punting this week. Obviously for the podcast, it was a little frustrating. The Napoli-Inter game, which was quite a slow burner really, but the second half was brilliant and Napoli were outstanding considering they lost 2 of their leading strikers in the game through injury and then a red card as well. And I don't know how that game ended 1-0, but Sassuolo, it's a half stakes winner away at Fiorentina. Again, they weren't anywhere near their best either. But just feel like I'm hitting the bar every week on the Matchbook podcast. The under 3 goals at Anfield almost felt inevitable when it went in, but fingers crossed for a bit more like this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if you hit the bar enough, they do tend to go in instead of going wide. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about Tottenham and Leicester to lead off. Southampton against Manchester City, Everton, Arsenal. West Brom against Aston Villa, a bit of a new manager bounce there potentially. We're going to do, Adrian has a couple of weekend EFL selections, Mark has a couple from Serie A, and we should go from there. All right, Adrian, I'm going to start with you first. I want to talk about Tottenham and Leicester, but let's take a look at the betting at Matchbook at the time we're recording. So Tottenham at home, fresh from that 2-1 loss at Anfield. Were they the better team? Mourinho reckons they were the better team. I'm not totally sure. Tottenham at 2.17. You can back the Foxes at 3.75. The draw is available at 3.58. Leicester are getting a quarter of a goal start in the Asian handicap, as you can see on screen there, at 2.1. And the total is 2.75, 2 3/4. But that's tilted towards the unders. Adrian, what are you thinking, mate? I mean, look, both teams coming off losses. I mean, look, Tottenham can probably take a bit more away from their trip to Anfield, but tough one for Leicester at home to Everton. We didn't really see that one coming either.
No, we said that was a hard game to call, and fair play to Everton. They did a job on Leicester City. It was one of those games that's becoming quite familiar actually at the King Power, where they have most of the ball and struggle really for ideas and invention. A lot relies on Maddison, and I don't think he was really at it in the game. Will it be the same at Spurs? We know that Spurs don't necessarily want the ball because when they strike hard and fast. Just ask Liverpool again, the latest team to fall victim to the Son on the counter-attack move. We know it's coming, but it's just very, very hard for opponents to stop, isn't it? I favour Spurs in this game. I thought they played pretty well, actually, against Liverpool. I know that they didn't have that much of the ball, but they created some really good chances against a, albeit depleted Liverpool team. You look at the head-to-head, Brendan Rodgers against Jose. Jose is the main man. Brendan yet to beat him, actually. I think it's the longest run he's gone without beating a fellow coach. So if you look at things like that, it might be that Jose is the number on Brendan. Leicester's defence, I think, in the full-back areas is where I worry for them. Christian Fuchs is having to play left-back at the moment. He's slow as, and we know that Spurs have a lot of pace in the wide areas. Son can play either side, of course. Bergwijn, Bale, if he's fit. Aurier flies forward, so that's an avenue for success. And Justin, even though he's having a terrific season, I feel he's much better going forward than he is at the back, and he does does leave holes. Evans is back for Leicester, which is a boost for them. But yeah, I think Spurs have scored in the game, and one goal might be enough. I think it probably is a relatively low scoring affair, this one, but I'm not going to take the goals angle. I'm going to favour Spurs. Look, there are reasons to go with Leicester. Jamie Vardy loves away games. Their away record's great this year. They're much better on the road, but I just don't think Spurs. I think Spurs have got a good groove going on without the ball at the moment. They're not gifting too much to opposition teams, and for that reason, I think they'll be able to keep Leicester at bay in this game. And I think the price is good. 2.17, wasn't it, on Spurs? I think it's not brilliant.
2.17. Yeah, it's not terrific. And that was going to be my next question for you, Mark. I mean, it's very hard to disagree with Adrian. A lot of those points with Spurs. But at that price, I'm kind of getting the sense that it may not be one that you'd be getting too enamored with. It is pretty short, 2.17.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've had to pick a winner. You choose Spurs. Whether I want to back them at that price, I'm not overly sure. I mean, Adrian's right. We've essentially got two teams here who prefer to play on the counter-attack, prefer to play without the ball. And I think that's why the market is always quite unsure about both teams, really, because, you look at the closing prices this season and neither will be kind of anywhere near the same level as a Liverpool or Man City. And I think that's all down to the underlying metrics, which is borne out by their approach to the game. They like to soak up pressure, hit teams on the break, utilise set pieces. From a Leicester perspective, utilise penalties, but it's been both have been very clinical with the chances they've created, and obviously game state plays a big part in all this as well. So, if you look at your advanced metrics like XG, etc., neither team come anywhere close to the dominant teams in the division. However, they're still very effective at what they do. So I just looked at Leicester, and 6 of their 8 wins this season have come against the bottom 7. Mentioned now the penalties a few times on the show, taking up a lot of their total XG output. And, that's balanced itself out a little bit. But I think they have grown a little bit stronger with Maddison coming back to full fitness. But I still expect Leicester to get better by January when the rest of the cavalry come back to fitness. And to go and lose at home to Everton in the way they did is quite alarming. They were also beaten 3-0 here quite comfortably in July by Spurs as well. And Adrian said as well, I completely agree, Spurs I thought were very decent at Anfield despite the result. Despite all the pressure, territory and possession that Liverpool had, I thought they offered a load of threats on the counter-attack, very strong in the middle, very well drilled defensively. And look, Mourinho's not an idiot. He knows exactly where Leicester's strengths are at, and he's not going to play into them, is he? So I actually went down the unders route, under 2 3/4. At 185 now. So 3 goals only loses half your stake. 4 or more goals loses your full stake. So need 2 goals or fewer to land a profit. So 6 of 8 Spurs games now have seen this bet land profit. The Liverpool game obviously a minute away from doing so as well. So it's not a selection I'm hugely strong on because Leicester are so erratic even in their goals output as well. So it's more based around the tactical setups of the two teams and the approach of both managers.
Yeah, just one other thing, Sully. On Leicester, when they lose, they tend to be for flat. 5 defeats in 4 of those 5 defeats, they've failed to score. So if they are shut out, they often end up losing the game. So yeah, I think this is a tough one. So Leicester are going to have to improve massively to win this game.
So, having listened to Mark there as he did, I mean, would he kind of convince you that maybe the better angle, and you kind of alluded to the 2 Adrian, that maybe 1 goal actually probably does win this game, and we can back under 2.75 currently at 1.86.
Yeah,
sorry, not a bad angle.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good compromise. I think Spurs will win a relatively low scoring game, so it's take your pick, isn't it? You do get a better price on Spurs winning. But I understand that the unders, there's a strong case for unders in this game for sure.
Yeah, this doesn't strike me as a kind of a 2-1, 3-1 kind of game. Yeah, I can see the angle there. Right, let's move on, gentlemen. Let's move on to Southampton versus Manchester City. And Mark, I'll start with you first, but I want to just bring up the betting on the screen. First of all, current betting on this one is from St. Mary's. Whoa, Southampton, really good home team, really good home record at St. Mary's. 7.2, just over 6-1 at Matchbook. Manchester City at 1.5. The draws of 4.85. Southampton getting 1.25 goal starts on the Asian handicap at 1.92. And the total is 3. Mark, I know you really, really wanted Southampton plus 1.5 goals. I hope you got that pre-recording, but it's kind of gone. Well, it isn't gone technically. You can kind of probably bet it down to like 1.65, 1.68. But what are you thinking here? But yeah, I've already kind of tipped the hat for you. You kind of like Southampton as well.
Yeah, I think you got to. I'll start with City because City, the narrative after that match midweek against West Brom was all about how unfortunate Slaven Bilic was to lose his job after a quite heroic point, whereas Sam Johnston makes 2 outstanding saves in the last 5 minutes, and City win that game 2-1. No one sort of bats an eyelid really, but I thought Pep Guardiola was really interesting after it because he said basically. He admitted they have to be beating the likes of West Brom at home if they're going to win the title this year. And it's not good enough. And at the moment, it's not been good enough for quite some time. City haven't looked themselves for me, going right back to since Vincent Kompany retired. They haven't looked the same team since David Silva's moved on as well. And Sergio Aguero's been injured. There's a lack of a spine in that team at the moment. And I'm just really surprised that he signed a new deal. I'm surprised it was offered to him. I'm surprised he's sticking around as well, because to me, there's been a malaise there for over 12 months. And I feel like they need a reset. I feel like they need a new voice in there because they're very ponderous and almost predictable at the moment. And they have improved defensively. The first goal they conceded in over 600 minutes midweek came from an unfortunate deflection. But I don't know, something's not quite right there. They do have the extra day's rest coming into this game, but I feel like they need a bit of a refresh. And I'm happy to oppose them on a big handicap. If you look at their record away from home, excluding the bottom half since the start of last season, they've not been massively convincing. They were 1.3 at St Mary's in July, now 1.5-ish. The market's clearly losing a bit of faith in them too. And Southampton clearly have been in an upturn now for quite some time, having a really positive campaign. Should have beaten Arsenal midweek, I felt. Unbeaten in 10 of their last 11 in the Premier League since the opening day, scoring twice or more on 9 occasions. A fully fit squad, a confident squad, a squad that knows exactly what it's doing. And I think the handicap is quite tall here for City to try and overcome. I do expect Southampton to cause them problems, and if they do score, suddenly they need 3 goals to see this bet lose. So I've gone Saints plus 1.25. I obviously would have taken the 1.5 if we had the opportunity at a nice price, but we can't anymore. But just on that City record, they've only won by 2 or more goals in 3 of 17 trips to sides in 12th and above since the start of last season. And Southampton have only lost by 2 goals or more in 5 of 25 at St Mary's in the same stretch. But if you take out the first couple of weeks of the last season, including the 9-0, it's twice in 20 games at St Mary's. So they're very, very competitive. Gave United a great game recently too. So yeah, I think they can be competitive. And knowing this bet still makes money if they lose by 1 goal, I'm keen with that.
Yeah, Adrian, Mark said a lot there about Man City. It's kind of hard to argue with any of that. And I saw your eyes light up when I mentioned Southampton at 7.2. Oh. That's crazy.
You've got to have a nibble at that, haven't you? I mean, it's going to be a little small play on that.
To your credit, you flagged up Wolves at 5.7 at Chelsea. You just said that was just a bit big as well. This huge price. I mean, would you you'd be pretty. I'm not going to say you'd be mad if you're backing Man City at 1.5 away from home against a team who's 4th in the table, who have a really good home record, and it's a lot to be asking to be backing Man City at 1.5 at the moment.
Well, anyone that's followed the Premier League in any kind of depth so far this season just would find it impossible to press the button on 1.5 for City. You just couldn't do it. Not in this game, not against Southampton, when you can see how slick they are. So, talked about Spurs being in a good groove defensively without the ball. Everything's coming naturally. Everybody knows their jobs. I get that vibe with Southampton. It feels like it's coming easy. Everybody, it's like a slick piece of machinery. It's all working very, very smoothly. Loads of oil in there, and for that reason, I think they can be competitive here. Obviously, they beat City, didn't they, in July, behind closed doors, post lockdown, in a game that I think was screened on the BBC as a record audience, wasn't there? Not a great game, but the Saints held them at bay, got one up, and saw it through. They're a better team now, and City have arguably gone downhill. We know as well that City struggle for goals away from home. I mean, their away games have featured the joint fewest amount of goals this season. This is City. This is City home and away. Usually go and wipe the floor with teams, but not this season. I think the average is 1.83 goals per game for a City away match this season. It's crazy, really. So look, they could click. They're good enough to. We know that, but the evidence says that that's not necessarily likely here. So no, I think there's a lot to like about Southampton. Walcott, I'm impressed with his resurgence. Ings will be better for the game in midweek. It'll be 4-4-2. They'll go for it. They'll press, and I think they can get a result. So I'm absolutely with Mark on his pick. 1.25 goals on the Asian handicap. Obviously, it brings the price down, but it's much more likely to land.
Well, yeah, that price is currently at 1.92. So what the guys mean by 1.25, if you're not aware, is half of your stake is on 1.0 and the other half is at 1.5. Now, if you want to go down and get the full 1.5 on its own, it's currently available at 1.73, which is a short enough price. And I go back to this game, whatever about, midweek, and obviously they had a lot of shots in the West Brom keeper terrific game. But even that game at Old Trafford, where they almost just accepted that they were going to get a point at Old Trafford against the United team that were absolutely there for the taking it. And if you look back the last couple of years, Adrian, that is not a Pep Guardiola's Manchester City side. When they put the foot on, they put the foot on. They could have blown them away.
They've lost that bit of creative magic. Now they can get it back. They've got great players. But I looked at it in the week. De Bruyne, head and shoulders, has created the most chances for City. Raheem Sterling second, quite a long way behind. And then you go to Cancelo, who's sort of, emerged as a good attacking fullback this season. But Cancelo's created more than... actually, it was De Bruyne, then Mahrez, and then Cancelo, who's got more creative, more key passes under his belt than Sterling. And then you're looking at Ferran Torres and all the other guys, your Fodens, great players. But Bernardo Silva, they've not really been delivering.
It looks to me, and I know it's completely different scenarios, but I kind of look to what's happening at Barcelona with Messi and how when he's in the team, everything has to go through Messi, and the players almost feel like they're obliged to give him the ball and ask him to do something. And that's what I'm seeing with City at the moment is give the ball to Kev and see if he can do something. And if not, we're kind of out of ideas because Sterling's not been the same player for a while either.
No. And Romeo and Ward-Prowse, one of the best central midfield partnerships of the season so far. Look, it's going to be tough for them. They'll be outnumbered, but I'll give them a fighting chance of keeping him quiet. So yeah, look, City could win this game. We know that, but I think looking at the prices, the pick we've come out with is the sensible choice.
Like we said, they could very much click, but if we want to be backing them at 1.5 away to a team in good form, good home form, with 4 on the table, the very best of luck to you. Absolutely, but I don't know if that's the way you're going to make money over the course of the season. Speaking of making money, guys, we have a brand new sign-up offer at Matchbook. Currently it's a bet 10 get 10 offer. So your first bet is 10 quid. You get 10 for your next bet. You have to be 18 plus only. That's unfortunately just for new customers. But you know what? If you're already at Matchbook, you're seeing plenty of the value already. And please do gamble responsibly at all times. All right, gentlemen, let's move on. Everton against Arsenal. Oh, Adrian, I'm coming for you first there, mate. Of course, where else would I go? But let's have a look at the betting, first of all, at Matchbook, the time of recording. Everton at 2.41 at home at Goodison Park. Arsenal at 3.16. The draw is available at 3.62. Arsenal getting a quarter of a goal start on the Asian handicap, just under 1.88. And the total is 2.5. Now, to your credit, Adrian, you did say that you found it very hard to see Arsenal losing 5 straight at home. They didn't lose, they didn't win. So you were somewhat vindicated. But
I got my money. Well, I backed them at plus a quarter, didn't I? So I didn't end up losing.
Minus a quarter. Mark definitely had more of a profit. He the plus quarter. He was getting more on it. So you're going to have to give Mark that one. It's 2-1 to Mr. O'Haire at the moment. So you're going to let that one slide, man. But come here, tell me about this one. So, Adrian, I mean, look, they're a big price. It's probably a long time since Arsenal were 3.16. Even away at Everton, but are you going to make the case for the Gunners there?
You can't back Arsenal at the moment, unfortunately. It hurts me to say it. I think Theo Walcott said, didn't he, that Arsenal looked fearful in that game against Southampton, and I think he was probably right. It's an honest, genuine comment. They were nervous. I said that they were lacking in confidence, and that was definitely a performance that showed that. Credit to them after Gabriel's daft red card. They regrouped and they held firm, showed some character. But in terms of what they're offering, the chances of beating these teams at the moment, it's a real struggle. They're going through treacle, aren't they? It's tough, and Everton have suddenly found a way of playing. Now, I want to give Carlo Ancelotti a big sort of, tip of my cap here tonight, because He was struggling. That back four or back three was all over the place. He's got no Luca Dini. He's got no Seamus Coleman. So what's he do? He picks 4 centre halves. And basically, he says, just stay in your own half. Defend. Do not let Chelsea, do not let Leicester City go in behind you. We'll sacrifice possession. We'll go longer. We'll play on the counter rather than playing through the thirds like we saw earlier on in the season. I've got some stats. So they made 260 passes, 262 against Leicester, 162 against Chelsea. Average across the first 11 games, 446. So it was less than half. So it's a conscious effort. Longer passes, they topped 20% of long passes in both games. Their season average before that was 11%. You know, they're going more direct. Shots on target faced very, very low in both matches against Leicester and Chelsea. They set their stall out to defend and to use, you know, the pace of Richarlison and the energy of Iwobi on the break with Calvert-Lewin, of course, pretty tidy as well on the counter. So look, they've found a way to play, a new way with the players available that makes them strong at both ends of the pitch. Not so good in the middle of the park, and I know Mark's got reservations there. They're depleted with Alan, but at both ends of the pitch, they've got a real focus. And unfortunately for Arsenal, they've been vulnerable to breakaways against everyone of late: Leicester, Wolves, Villa, Spurs. You know, you name it, really. They've certainly looked edgy, and they're going to have to try and break down Everton. And you think about Arsenal going forward, the Aubameyang's pace, Pepe's pace. Are they going to get in behind? They've struggled to get in behind anyone of late. So Arsenal are going to have to produce a much better performance, I think, to get a win here. So I would certainly favour Everton. It's it hurts me to say it, but that's the way it is. So yeah, Everton draw no bet or Everton on the nose would be my selections there.
I like you going back to your head again. You went to heart during the week, Adrian. Don't ever find your head. Always go with your head. And I could stand corrected there, but I'm pretty sure that Arteta and Ancelotti got the jobs, their respective jobs, now around the same time last year. So it's interesting the different trajectories. And Mark, with this one, I mean, Adrian touched on it there, an Italian coach being pragmatic and going back to defensive. We've heard this before, and you know, none of this attacking full backs to trade anymore. No, 4 centre back. But it's a very good point. They have just become way more pragmatic and solid defensively. But are they a good bet here at 2.43?
Yeah, they are, and he had to make a change. We were very fearful about them going to Chelsea. I particularly were, without fullbacks and knowing the threats that Chelsea have in wide areas. And he found a system that worked, and it's worked again midweek. And you have to give him huge credit for that. Yes, I've got reservations about that midfield. I know Coleman and James might be back, so it'd be interesting to see how he does fit those players in if they are available. But Alan's injury is a blow. I really don't like the individual makeup of Sigurdsson, Decore, Andre Gomez, and Iwobi. To me, there's probably 2 luxury players there out of possession in Gomez and Sigurdsson. I want to see probably Tom Davies come in and be a bit of a scrapper in the Alan mould. Hopefully he'll do something like that, because otherwise I feel like they are a bit lightweight. So I'd be interested to see the team news there. But Everton are decent at kind of bloodying the nose of a big team. They've taken points off 4 of the top 6, I think, so far this season. Their record at home under Ancelotti, 3 defeats in 16 Premier League games. They've scored in 14 of those as well. So, yeah, I do like them. I'm surprised you can get Everton draw no bet at 174, to be honest, +0 on the Asian handicap at the moment on Matchbook. I make that closer to 168. So there's definitely an angle there, because I am a bit, as I say, I do have reservations over that midfield. I like to be a bit more pragmatic myself. Carlo's not normally a pragmatic guy, in fairness, as a head coach. He likes his teams to play on the front foot. But what else can we say about Arsenal? No Gabriel now, who I think has been one of their better players this season. They've only won twice in 11, if you exclude the bottom 3, 7 defeats in that spell. 2 open play goals in 9 games, which is almost 14 hours of football. Only 4 clubs averaging fewer shots in the box. They just look really impotent at the moment. They look a bit directionless. I think only once this season they've had more than 13 shots in the game. And normally you'd kind of look to maybe 6 to 7 shots per game on average for a result in a goal. And they're not even kind of hitting above average in that sense. So yeah, they are falling below their standards. 4 away wins under Arteta in 16 league games, 6 in 25 since you go back to the start of last season too. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be a thrilling game. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, knowing the Everton changes that they've made, plus Arsenal's approach now under Arteta. I think their games are averaging the fewest goals per game in the division as a whole, 2.08, only one of which have featured 4 or more goals, and that was the opening day against Fulham. So, and they were in a mess that time as well. So, yeah, Everton have shown a different side in the last week or two, and a team that's very capable of grinding out results, a team that's very capable of just showing the grunt that we probably didn't see in the previous weeks. And I think it's going to be a difficult game for Arsenal to sort of seize the initiative in. So I'd side with Everton, but I'd just over that midfield. I would take the sort of safer approach of the draw no bet.
Yeah, it's a pragmatic approach, a bit like Ancelotti in the last couple of weeks. Everton plus 0.0 is a draw no bet. Obviously, if it's a draw, you get your money back at 1.74. And 13 games, 14 points for Arsenal, their lowest since the 1974-1975 season. Adrian, sorry, that's it. No, I'm done.
My first full season alive. On this,
Good times, mate. Good times.
Yeah, I don't recall it too much, but no, it's miserable at the moment. But look, it will turn for Arsenal. The players are good enough, but confidence is low. Yeah,
I saw people saying midweek on Twitter, people who I'd value their opinions as well, but when Southampton went ahead, Arteta would be lucky to keep his job if they lost that game. That's going a little bit too far, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. Privy to any kind of that kind of information. But I think they've invested a lot in Mikel Arteta. They trust him implicitly, and they've allowed him to make a lot of changes behind the scenes. And it would be, I think, if things would have to get very severe for them to go back on that. I think, and I would agree with this. I think it's important that he's allowed to get rid of a bunch of players first to bring in a bunch of replacements of his own. I think January could be quite busy. Yeah,
look, it's only a couple of months ago they won the FA Cup as well, and where people were saying they're almost a shoo-in for a Champions League spot as a minimum, and some were talking further up. So yeah, look at Adrian, you know this as well as I do. I mean, they were never a club to make massive managerial changes, chopping and changing. So I don't think the culture has changed there that much. Anyway, okay, we'll leave it there, Adrian. We'll talk again about Arsenal next week, probably, most likely. Okay, let's move on. So look, let's be honest about it. Ordinarily, West Brom and Aston Villa would not be a game that would be high on our list, but hey, Big Sam is back. Let's talk about it. West Brom currently available at 3.7 at the Hawthorns. Aston Villa 2.06, draw 3.84. West Brom are getting a half goal start at 1.9, and 2.75 is the total. Mark O'Haire, like I said, I don't know if this is going to be one that I'm necessarily going to be tuning into myself. There's plenty on at the weekend that I won't be. But is there a reason to maybe get on board with a betting angle there?
There might be. I suspect me and Adrian will probably have opposing views on this, but I think there's been a lot of rhetoric this week about Slaven Bilic being really unlucky and badly dealt with, and it's not a narrative I completely buy into, in all honesty. As Adrian will tell you as well, I personally thought that West Brom were, I wouldn't say fortunate to be promoted, but I thought he was helped down massively by the individuals in his team last season in the Championship. I didn't think they were a fantastic team. I just thought they were a fantastic bunch of individuals, and that got them the points in certain situations. They certainly didn't finish the season with a flourish, and there's been grumblings behind the scenes about the board and not releasing funds, and he's spoken out about it. It was always a bit of a sticky situation, really, and I think if West Brom had lost that match in midweek and he'd been relieved of his duties, we probably wouldn't have been sort of seeing it as a bit of an outcry or an outrage, because there's only a week previous they got hammered home by Crystal Palace, and people were saying how dreadful they were, one of the best teams ever, and just because they heroically get a point against the odds at City doesn't change that. So they're bottom of the league for expected goals generated, XG conceded, expected points. Their only win was rather fortunate against Sheffield United. So, yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I think they've made the right decision. I think Sam Allardyce will give them a better opportunity in staying in the Premier League. They might have panicked, but this is a very much a short-term gig to try and keep them in the Premier League for the next 12 months. And they have got tried and trusted experience. I'm not normally one to kind of go on about that, especially in the Premier League, but I can see the reasoning behind the move, and I think the only thing holding me back really is how much influence he can have in a handful of days before this match. One thing that is in their advantage is having 2 extra days rest compared to Aston Villa, who played on Thursday night, compared to West Brom on Tuesday. We know Villa have been excellent on the road. We're unfortunate not to get the points against Burnley with so many efforts at goal, but yeah, this is a derby. This is a different kind of environment. I'm not sure where their headspace is at either. Jack Grealish has been in court this week. Cash will be back from suspension. So with Douglas Luiz, I should say. Barkley possibly fit as well. So I'm kind of talking myself into backing Villa here, which I really don't want to do at kind of even money or around that price, to be honest. So I'm not going to give you a definitive answer, Sully, but if I had to have a bet here, it'd be West Brom plus a half or under 2 3/4 goals. And that's purely because we've got Sam Allardyce here, and I don't think Baggies were a million miles away from getting a result. He's definitely in previous weeks. I think 8 of their last 11 were settled by 1 goal or a draw, and I think he'll just take the framework from midweek against City and put it back out on the field again on Sunday, and hope that the new manager syndrome, which I do believe in actually, is a real phenomenon, that they can actually get something from this game. But long term, I think their prospects are reasonably positive.
Yeah, the under kind of look, just a first glance, the under kind of looked kind of tasty enough to me. But Adrian Clarke, what are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, no, the price under 2 3/4 is definitely the best value for me in this game. Villa just been involved in a goalless draw. West Bromwich Albion, the lowest team ranked on the XG ratings this season. Also the highest in terms of expected goals against as well. I think Sam has inherited the worst team in the league. I think they are the weakest. I think they are the weakest team. That much is fair to say. Sam Johnson's made more saves than any other keeper. I think that tells you plenty. Villa have been much better on the road. Much better. There seems to be a bit more freedom about them, and the fact that you just said Cash is coming back. Barkley, I think, was on the bench tonight. He'll be returning, I'm sure. Douglas Luiz, that could tip it over the edge. I make Villa worthy favourites here, but I think it'll be a low scoring affair. I really do. So yeah, let's take your pick. But I think the safer bet is on unders, and yeah, for me, Big Sam's got he's got tried and trusted. He's got previous in terms of keeping teams up, but a pretty good effort to keep the Baggies in the division this year.
I don't know, Adrian, you just look at the bottom 6 to bottom 8 of that division at the moment, and excuse the French, but it's full of gash. It's really poor. It's really poor, and I don't think any of those teams at the bottom need to show a huge amount to stay up this year.
Who's going to score for West Brom? Like, seriously. I mean, Carlin Grant was a good championship player, and he might develop into a Premier League performer, but he's the one that they're pinning their hopes on, really. Callum Robinson had a good game against Chelsea. We've barely seen him since. You're relying on midfielders to chip in. Conor Gallagher's a good player, but he's not going to get you that many over the course of the season. Big Sam will definitely sign a striker on loan, probably in January, and the success or otherwise of that striker, I think, will make or break them. But yeah, I'm not convinced they'll survive.
And even looking at them coming up from the championship last year, if it wasn't for Brentford, kind of throwing away in those last couple of games, they would have been in the playoffs. And who knows after that? It's a bit of a crapshoot. Okay, I like that one. It's only even money. It's 1.98 under 2.75, so that's half your stake on under 2.5. And half at 3.0, so you only make a half loss if it lands on 3. And I just looking at this game, I struggle to see where the 3 goals come from, to be totally honest with you. But that's just my take, and I think you guys are kind of
really
possibly, straight out of court and a hat trick. Yeah, like good language. Adrian, EFL, take it away. Where are we going this week?
I've done a couple on the insights column, so please do check that one out. A couple of goals angles there. Mark might not like my first pick. It's the Gareth Ainsworth derby. QPR travel to Wickham. Now, look, it seems daft to back Wickham. No wins in 8. They're languishing at the bottom there. But I just feel that this is a game that they will feel that they can win. They'll have targeted this all week. Gareth Ainsworth, very good motivator. It's his club, isn't it? QPR, really. He will be desperate to win this game, and And I feel that stylistically, Wickham can really trouble QPR's defence. I've talked before about, I don't not really fancy their back four, or not really their goalkeeper, to be honest. And I think they're going to go direct and hassle them and make it a very, very uncomfortable evening for the Hoops, who like to play pretty football. They like a nice football game against Brentford. You knock the ball around, play through the thirds. Wickham will do their utmost to make sure it's not that type of game. So look, it's a risky bet because Wickham have no real form to speak of. QPR are on a rotten run, but at 3.34, I'm going to put small units on Wickham.
So you're not even going to take them a quarter of a goal start in the Asian handicap at even money. You're just going to go all the way out for triple. Is it that kind of bet, Adrian? Well, you could have just a smaller bet if your logic is that they could win this game, but they could also lose 2-0. So it's probably maybe a smaller angle to go to 3.34. I'm not trying to talk you in one way or the other, but it's just
Well, I'll probably go for Wickham on the nose, but that is a sensible play. That's a Mark O'Haire type bet. So he's the man, isn't he? The other one, I'm going into League Two, Leyton Orient against Crawley Town. Over 2.5 goals is my angle here. Crawley matches have seen the third highest number of goals. Very not that good at the back. Very good going forward. Nichols and Waters score a lot of goals for them. Leyton Orient, very front-footed team under Ross Embleton this year. Danny Johnson's having a great season. You've got Wilkinson, other guys, Brophy, who have all been among the goals. I think that these are two teams that might just go at it, hammer and tong. Only 4 teams have conceded more goals away from home than Crawley, so they're just not the sort of team that go on the road and sit back. They'll go head to head, and I think it'll be a good game. And I'm going over 2.5 goals, which I believe is 1.88 at the minute.
It is indeed. Mark O'Haire, you've got one selection from the continent for us. Where is it?
Yeah, Italy on Sunday night, one of the games of the weekend in Europe. Lazio taking on Napoli. Napoli favourites in Rome, but the market is beginning to move against them, and it's quite understandable why. They went into the midweek game without Victor Osimhen, their big summer signing from Lille. He's injured until January, and as I alluded to earlier, they lost Dries Mertens to what looked like a really serious ankle injury. It's not as bad as first presumed, but Lorenzo Insigne got himself stupidly sent off as well for complaining and swearing at the referee after a penalty was given against Napoli. So they're basically missing their 3 key forwards for this game. They are obviously players who can come in and do a job, but they're not the same beast as when those 3 are available. So I did actually think they were terrific at Inter, even in the second half when those 2 players weren't around. But they created a lorry load of chances, just couldn't finish any of the opportunities. But the fallout has been quite severe. Gennaro Gattuso, their little terrier of a manager, losing his rag a bit with the officials. There's been a lot of complaint about it, and this game, they get 24 hours less rest going to Rome, and it's never easy going to Rome to play a Lazio team who are motivated, who are confident, and a Lazio team who always seem to raise themselves to the big games. Defensively, they've made loads of errors this season, but in the big games when it really matters, they are focused and they look very, very good. They've held Inter and Juve already in Rome this season. They've beaten Dortmund in the Champions League. Look at last year, they toppled Juventus, they toppled Inter, they held Atalanta, Milan, beat Napoli too. So they're a team that really relishes this big occasion. Napoli themselves, not so much away from home, just 1 point from 6 trips to the top 6 last season. They've lost all 4 games against the top 5 this year. So irrelevant really what you see with your eyes, like I did in midweek, where they played really well. They're just not getting results in these big games. And I think they will be lacking a bit in midweek in terms of what's left in the tank, mentality-wise as well. And not just that, just the 3 key players missing too. So Lazio plus a quarter goal on the Asian handicap would be the selection. It's already been nibbled from 1.8 to 1.75-ish, I see now. But that's where I'm heading.
You beat the market every weekend, Mark. You shouldn't be surprised by this at this stage. But you penned a quite comprehensive piece on this at insights.matchbook.com. The main takeaway that I was taking there was, the focus from Lazio of the Champions League, and know that that's kind of parked until February. They can kind of, Simone Inzaghi can kind of just focus on Serie A again. Because it's a big deal for a team like that to get into the last 16. I want to do a quick recap, gents, just before we jump into best bets, because I forgot to do it a while ago. So back at the Premier League fixture, so we're going to take under 2.75 in Tottenham Leicester. We're going to take Southampton plus 1.25 on the Asian handicap against Man City. We're going to back Everton draw no bet 0.0, 1.74 at home to Arsenal. We're going to take under 2.75 in the West Brom Villa game. Adrian likes Wickham. Can I just ask about that, Adrian? So with Wickham, do you want to take him with the 3.34 or do you want to take him plus 1/4 at even money? Just my own official record keeping.
Oh, let's be bold. Let's be bold. Yeah, 3.34. Yeah, we don't often tip up sort of that sort of price, but I like it.
Okay, that's that confirmed, Adrian. And I also like that over 2.5 in Leyton Orient Crawley, and as Mark said there, Lazio plus 1/4 of a goal. Right, weekend best bets. Adrian, your one clicked midweek, so you have the honours this week. Kick us off. Where are you going for your weekend best?
Yeah, it's a Premier League game that we were never going to talk about in detail. It's not that exciting on paper. Brighton against Sheffield United. I don't see a lorry load of goals in the game. The Blades can't score, can they, at the moment? I know there's a game going on at the moment as we speak, but 58% of the games they've failed to score in so far this season. And Brighton are a tough nut to crack, even though results haven't been brilliant. They've still faced the second fewest number of shots, Brighton. They do not face that many shots. They keep teams at arm's length, and I think they could do that against Sheffield United. Brighton, themselves aren't firing on all cylinders, not scoring a lorry load of goals. And the games against teams near the bottom have been low-scoring affairs, 0-0 against Burnley, 1-0 West Brom, 0-0 at Fulham. I just think this game as a one-goal wins it. Look about it. So I was drawn towards that going against both teams scoring. So no both teams to score at 1.75. I think that is the angle I'm going to go on here, and I'm quite confident that probably Brighton will win this 1 or 2-0. But if Sheffield United were to score first, maybe they'll cling on and keep them at bay and win 1-0.
I sometimes forget there's actually no option in BTTS, so that's quite interesting. Yeah, absolutely, something different. Yeah, I like the angle. You make a good case for Mark. Your best bet of the weekend, man.
Yeah, well, you say I always beat the market, but it's not been the case in this situation. I'm looking at Torino against Bologna on Sunday morning, 11:30 start in Italy. In my insights column, I talked it up as I think 1.8 shots. It's now 1.9, and it's really puzzling, to be honest. Torino are playing on Thursday night in Rome. Their head coach Marco Giampaolo under huge pressure after a very difficult start. He promised drastic changes. He made drastic changes in his first 11. They had a terrible start. They had a red card inside 15 minutes and 2-0 down at half time. I don't know the full-time score there, but clearly things are not going well for him. But they are a team who do better going forwards than defensively. Andrea Bellotti leading the line there. And they've been great fun so far this season. They've scored in all but 2 of their 11 games before the Roma game. Just the 1 clean sheet, loads of goals, 4.18 per game, conceding twice or more in 8 of 11, scoring twice or more in 8 of 11 as well. If you look at their correct scores, they've been 2-2s, 3-2s, 4-3s, 3-3s. And they're playing a Bologna team who can't defend for toffee. Just 1 clean sheet in 45 league games. And it's atrocious. They absolutely burgled a point at Spezia in midweek, 2-2 draw. But like Torino, they can score goals themselves, and they do like to play front foot football under Mihailovic. And as I say, don't know the outcome of the Thursday night game, but if you put the 2 teams' records together, over 2.5 goals has landed in 17 of 23 league games this season, and so has both teams to score as well. So clearly you'd want to double them up, or at least look towards a goals-based angle, and over 2 3/4 is 1.9 now. I make it extra about 1.73 shots. So yeah, bit of value there in Italy on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and look, don't worry about the market, Mark. You know when it goes the other way too, it can go bad too. So I don't know.
It's puzzling, to be honest. I'm not really sure why. This is probably the game from Italy that stands out most for goals, because neither side has any clue how to defend properly.
All right, an early start on Sunday for us there, Adrian. Looking at
you know what they should do? Just play 4 centre backs like Carlo.
They should, yeah. The pragmatic Italians, not too many of them in Serie A at the moment, thankfully. That's it. We're done. We're out of time. We are back next Tuesday. Time to be confirmed. The 22nd to preview Boxing Day's fixtures. We're going to take a podcast off for the 28th, but we'll be back for the fixtures on the 30th and 31st. Adrian, my thanks to you, Mark. Thanks as ever, mate. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. We've done 2 this week, and it's going to be a regular fixture going forward into January as well with midweek football. We've got a lot of bets there, and hopefully we'll get some winners as well. Until next week, next Tuesday, to be exact, bit of a change there. Best of luck with the weekend. Best of luck with your bets, and we'll talk to you then.